clouds.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Animation Pilgrimage, where we take a look at every single theatrically released animated film in chronological order. I'm Tennille.
And I'm Sean.
We are now in the year 1969 and we are covering...
Have been for a couple of movies now.
Yeah. And we are covering the first Peanuts film. First because, obviously there's more of these. Although I think as far as theatrically released films, we only have one other until the modern...
Like the 2016, 17,
15.
I don't know. Within the last 5 to 10 years.
5 years.
When we're recording this.
Yeah.
But before, which wasn't... Of the 2D animated films, there's only like one more that might have been released to theaters.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. A lot of them were TV specials.
Yeah. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Or no, yes. A boy named Charlie Brown. A boy named Charlie Brown.
You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown is the musical.
Based on just general Peanuts.
Yeah. This is A Boy Named Charlie Brown.
So, listen up.
So, listen. Uh-huh.
This is the story of a small, every boy known as Charlie Brown. Like, there's specifically a song singing about how he's the everyman.
Mm-hmm.
And everything goes wrong for him. All the time. It's kind of the joke.
Yeah.
Like, the overarching joke of Peanuts comics and this movie is everyone laughs at Charlie Brown for failing at everything. And he's miserable.
Mm-hmm. He's a loser.
He's a loser. He can't fly kites. He can't play baseball. He can't kick the football that's held by Lucy. Lucy, okay. Held by Lucy. He can't do anything right.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone laughs at him.
Yep.
This is just what happens in these movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why most people try not to think about Charlie Brown when they think about Peanuts. They like to think about the other characters who do things that are happy and enjoyable and are good.
Like Schrodinger.
Like Schrodinger. Or
Peppermint Patty.
Snoopy.
Mostly Snoopy.
Mostly Snoopy because he's a dog that doesn't care about anything and has lots of fun and whimsical adventures, which is just... Why is the comic and everything not just about Snoopy as compared to laughing at the horrible abuse that this child is taking?
Yeah, I have complicated feelings about Peanuts. Because, on one hand, Peanuts is such a cultural icon here in America that, like, just saying Peanuts makes you go like, oh man, the Peanuts. How fun! But, like, if you actually experience any Peanuts stuff, it's...
More often than not, just depressing.
Super depressing.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if that's due to... Well, okay. Theory time. We're not very far into this episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go into a little bit of the history of the Peanuts comics and Charles Schulz.
Because we'll get to a movie summary later. It's not that important.
Right. I mean, it's the Peanuts, it's Charlie Brown. A lot of your basic Peanuts things happen in this movie because it's the first Charlie Brown movie. So, like...
He fails to kick the football. There's
all the familiar beats get hit.
Mm-hmm.
But... Charles Schulz was born in, like, 1922. He served for a little while in World War II, I believe.
Okay, that would make sense time-wise.
Yeah.
So he grew up in the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm. And then, once Peanuts became popular in late 50s, 60s, really in the 60s, Peanuts just, like, took off and became huge, which is why it got, like, the TV specials and all that.
The theatrically released movie.
Yeah. And then Charles Schulz just kind of did Peanuts for the rest of his life. And he was, like, very controlling over the property, very specific about it. And, like, he essentially changed how the modern comic strip is done. Like, there's so many other comic strips that are similar to Peanuts because of Peanuts.
Because of Peanuts' massive popularity.
Mm-hmm. Like, Calvin and Hobbes has, like, a lot of the same, like, quintessential, you know, it's about a kid, and he's got, like, a fantastical pet, and, you know, it's semi-cynical, you know, very much like, the joke is how these kids
are smarter than kids should be.
Well, no, not even smarter than kids should be. It's just, like, giving kids, like, the actual... It's not talking down to kids. It's not kids making stupid, like... stupid jokes about, like, kids not quite understanding things. These kids do understand things because kids are smarter than people give them credit for. They do understand things that are going on around them, and they worry about the same kind of stuff adults do. And, like, that's kind of where some of the humor and philosophy of these comics come from.
Okay.
Which is cool, but also, like, because these became popular in the 1950s and 60s, the cynicalness is really hard to take as someone from my own generation.
Growing up, dealing with people that grew up ingesting this as our parents.
Right, because for them, the only coping mechanism is to look at this depression and this kid getting bullied and to laugh at it. Whereas you and I look at it and we go, holy shit, this kid is getting bullied and he's super depressed and he needs help.
Things are going to go south for this kid real badly if something doesn't change.
Yeah. And instead, you know, for baby boomers, it's just like, haha, let's bottle this all up and we'll just laugh at it. You know? Like that's psychology. And it makes Peanuts really, especially this movie, because I feel like this one is more cynical and...
Because I've seen the Christmas special a few times and it didn't feel as cynical, but it's also been over 10 years since I've seen it, so maybe on a rewatch I would get a lot more of it out of it.
Well, and I really enjoyed the movie Blue Sky made a few years back, too.
Oh, well, yeah, that's because it was Peanuts reinvented with a modern aesthetic and taste for how to story structure.
Right.
And how to abuse characters or not.
Or not abuse them. Yeah, like, there's a whole song in here where the girls are just, like, picking on Charlie Brown, and they sing a song called Failure Face, and it's supposed to be so funny, but it
feels cruel.
It's so cruel, and
this whole movie is cruel.
So cruel, and it's all played for a joke, and I can't laugh at it.
Nope. Absolutely not.
Yeah, and I don't think it's as bad in other Peanuts things I've seen, but, like, this movie in particular just feels so depressing and cold, and I don't recommend it.
No. Well, that being said, let's actually get into a brief story synopsis.
Okay.
Movie starts off with Charlie Brown trying to fly a kite, which doesn't go well, and then he goes and does baseball, which doesn't go well for him, and the kids all just have a bunch of fun banter and stuff.
It's essentially a whole bunch of scenarios showing that Charlie Brown isn't good at anything.
Yeah.
And the kids making fun of him for it.
And they're all scenarios that you've seen in the comics all the time, or they get reiterated in other movies and other media all the time as well.
Charlie Brown tries to fly a kite.
Flies the kite, does the baseball, tries to kick the football, goes to Lucy as a psychiatrist to talk about all this. His dog does something funny. Linus is obsessed with his blanket. You know, the usual stuff. There's a segment in here that has nothing to do with anything else where Schrodinger literally just plays an entire sonata. And, like, that just happens for a while. You get some, like, pop art influences and stuff, which is, like, probably cool for the time, but is very much a non sequitur. Yeah, it just kind of exists and then it's done. Yeah. Either way, the main real plot is that Charlie Brown is like getting depressed because he sucks at everything. And so someone has the bright idea that he should enter the spelling bee.
But they do it more so as
like mocking him.
Yeah.
You should enter the spelling bee. Ha ha ha. And then he does, and actually does pretty well. So much so that he wins first class and he thinks it's over, but they're like, no, now you have to do it against the whole school. And he's like, oh no.
No, now you have to go to nationals.
Well, he does it against the whole school and does well, and then he has to go to nationals.
Which he also didn't know about.
Yeah, he just keeps like going up and like, he goes to nationals and like in here he does like an entire studying song where they literally just like list off a million spelling rules.
And I don't know, like, half of these.
We learned English, so, you know, we should know all this stuff. But English is such a garbage language that it's like, ugh, no.
These are rules? What the hell?
English needs a whole overview, a whole revamp.
Yeah.
Throw it in the garbage. Let's just pick up a different language.
Start over.
A different language that, like, makes a lot more sense, like Spanish or...
I mean, thanks to the advent of the internet... Like,
it matters even less.
Right, because, you know, so many things that we viewed as like, oh, well, that's not the proper English way to spell it. If language is...
It changes.
Yeah, language is malleable. Language changes with time. So, like the word light, you always used to spell it L-I-G-H-T. Well, nowadays, I think an accepted way of spelling light is L-I-T-E.
And same with night.
Yeah, and night.
It's like, obviously, if you want to be proper English, you will do, like, the GHT.
Well, yeah, but as far as, like those spellings have been added to the dictionary.
Oh, yeah, and they're so synonymously used that it doesn't even matter. Wow,
Right.
we're going off on a random diatribe about
spelling.
but
It's
English
just
is a bad
interesting.
language.
Yeah.
So, he's just, like, doing this entire song, and song is, like, a stretch of the idea. If anything, it's like chanting over music, which one could almost equivocate to really, really bad rap.
Nah, it's just like it's the I before E, like
I before
song.
E, except after C. Da 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 da. And he just does this for like literally a minute or two straight. And Linus
Snoopy and Linus help and
it just keeps going and compounding, and he's just like, whoa.
You lost me after I before E.
Either way,
Except after C.
he's going off to do the nationals, and everyone's cheering him on. They're like, oh my gosh, he's actually doing something. It's great. He's going to win. It's going to be amazing.
Well, it's one of those things where it's like
everyone's trying to use him because he's good at something, and they're trying to influence him. Like, you do this for me. And like Lucy is like, I am your
agent. I get 20%.
Like, I own 20% of Charlie Brown and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. More cynical, just abusing Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Exploiting the heck out of him. Mm-hmm. Linus gives him his blanket for good luck, which is dumb.
Immediately he regrets because
Well, of course.
Because Charlie Brown doesn't want it or need it, and Linus becomes a nervous wreck without it.
Keeps passing out. Mm-hmm. Acts drunk.
Mm-hmm.
All right. He's just an addict.
An addict
We're being
for his
honest.
blanket.
Yeah. Either way, Charlie Brown goes to the thing, and he keeps studying way too much. Mm-hmm. Linus shows up with Snoopy and asks for his blanket, except Charlie Brown's like, I don't know where I put it. And so Linus is wandering around a city in the middle of the night.
And it's like in
just
New
like
York or something like
he's
that.
He's a 4 or 5 year old kid.
Yeah.
How old? Like maybe 10?
Okay.
How old are these kids?
Wait. So...
Just wandering out in the middle of the night by himself.
No. Originally, the Peanuts kids were all like 4 years old.
4.
But as the comics progressed, they eventually like settled to be about 8.5 years old.
Okay.
So they're anywhere between the ages of 4 and 8.5 years old.
That is too young for a single child to be wandering around by himself. I mean, he shouldn't have been able to ride the bus to here by himself either.
Uh-huh.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Either way, Linus gets his blanket back because it's just sitting in Charlie Brown's room. Charlie Brown goes on television to do this competition, and he gets down to like the last 2 kids.
Yeah. So
And-
it's him and one other kid.
And then he messes up.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm a failure.
Yeah, and everyone gets mad at him. They're like, we knew he could never do it to begin with.
The thing is, everyone gets mad at him without talking to him.
Yeah.
Like, because they're all at home and they're yelling at the TV and like, you're a failure and stuff. And he goes home and he's super depressed and like, there's no one there to greet him when he gets home. And he doesn't go to school the next day. And then Linus comes over and he's like, why weren't you at school? He's like, I'm a failure and like, I don't deserve to do anything. And it's never
I'm always terrible at everything.
And it's like, dude, you just got second in a spelling bee
Not
for your
that
entire state.
Not that anyone points that out to him.
Yeah, no, it's like, dude, you're still the second best speller in the state, supposedly.
Yeah.
Or whatever the exact size it was. But instead, what Linus says to him is, get over it, and walks out of the room.
Yeah.
And that cheers Charlie Brown up, and he gets out of bed.
Yeah.
Get over it!
No. Okay, Charlie Brown, like, literally shows, like, all the signs of being super depressed.
Seriously depressed. And someone walks into his room, opens the blinds, says, get over it, and leaves.
And Charlie Brown's just okay after that. He's just better.
That's not how mental illness works.
No.
That's not how depression works.
No.
This is so cynical.
Mm-hmm.
Because the moral of this movie is you specifically suck at everything. Everyone is going to mock you forever. And you just have to deal with it because that is your lot in life and there's no way to improve yourself. That is the moral that this movie is giving us as it sits.
You can either whine about it or you can just
roll over and die.
Get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That is so cynical.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never seen this movie before.
No.
But I understand why.
Most people don't talk about this one.
Yeah, most people don't talk about this one, and like I have seen bits and pieces of this one, but like not the ending. Because yeah, the ending is something that's not in the comics. The plot for this movie is something that's taken from the comics. But the way it ends is just kind of like Charlie Brown
fails and then
fails and then they just move on to the next event. Mm-hmm. There's no like conclusion, which is probably better than Charlie Brown being super depressed and then his best friend coming over and being like, geez, no one cares about your depression, Charlie Brown.
Oh no, woe is you. Who cares?
Jesus, Linus. Wow.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's some fun segments with Snoopy. Unfortunately, I don't think Peppermint Patty's a character yet.
No.
Because she was always one of my favorites.
Isn't she like the secret lesbian of the group?
I don't know if it's a secret. I think everybody thinks Peppermint Patty's a lesbian.
Except
with
for
her friend, Marcy? I think it's Peppermint Patty and Marcy.
Yeah, one of them calls him Chuck, right?
Peppermint Patty calls Charlie Brown Chuck.
Okay. Yeah, those two characters didn't show up. That would have made this better. Because those two characters are actually interesting.
I like them a lot. I don't like Lucy. Lucy is a character that is always in Peanuts. And
supposed to be like one of the most popular characters.
Like, does anyone like Lucy? Please tell me. Like, everyone likes Schrodinger. Schrodinger is just like a cool guy who sits at his piano and plays music. He doesn't want to deal with Lucy's bullshit. I feel like Schrodinger. I don't want to deal with Lucy's bullshit either.
I don't know. I kind of like Lucy because she's a bitch. And she knows it.
Oh yeah, she
knows it, and she's happy with this. She is happy with her lot in life.
Uh-huh.
Because she thinks she's better than everyone, which is actually kind of true in this universe.
I guess I've just known so many Lucys as a kid in America growing up that I'm just like, man, fuck the Lucys of the world.
Okay, that's fair. That is very fair.
I don't want to deal with Lucys.
Yeah, I've known a Lucy or two myself.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, there's more I could talk about with Charles Schultz, but we have more Peanuts movies
So we
to
could
cover.
probably just spread them about throughout all of his movies.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're a die-hard Peanuts fan, watch this movie. Again, I would assume, because you've probably already seen it.
Yeah. And as a little bit further clarification, this movie did really well critically. Made quite a bit of money, which is why it got a sequel made, which we'll be watching in like another year or two for the show.
Okay.
And yeah, Peanuts continue to be super popular and all that jazz. So.
And all that jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, to anyone else, I probably wouldn't recommend it because...
Even if you are a Peanuts fan, this one just did not sit well with us, and I don't think it would sit well with a modern audience.
No.
I would say watch, like the specials that you remember being fond of as a kid. Like the Christmas special, the Great Pumpkin one, stuff like that.
Watch those, not this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, next time we actually get to jump into a series that we've been trying to watch for literal decades now.
Yeah.
But we finally found one that is in English, or like has an English translation.
Yep.
We're finally going to watch a Tintin movie.
Oh my god!
There was a stop motion Tintin movie in the 30s that we couldn't find a translation for, so we get to experience this beloved comic book character that we know only a little bit about.
And I never saw the remake movie either, so...
Yeah. Anyways, we were jumping into Tintin and the...
Kingdom of the Sun?
Kingdom of the Sun.
Of the Sun?
Prisoners of the Sun. I think this movie has like 2 different names.
Yeah. Well, 2 different English names.
English names, but that one.
Yep.
So,
Tintin. See you guys then.
Yeah.
Careful study. E before I after C. Seizure, leisure, C sheep protein. We're either neither, codeine, caffeine. Siege, however,